everybody, today we've got a Titan fuel tank to install. These are well-built aftermarket fuel tanks used to extend the range of your diesel truck. We've got a 2019 Ram 3500. Alright, first you're going to start by giving yourself a little room under the truck, so we pulled up on a couple ramps. We actually had access to a lift for this job, but we decided to do it on the floor just to show you that you can too. Alright, first you're going to have to identify the filler neck and the breather tube. You'll see each one has a little hose clamp and you'll have to remove both of those. It's important to loosen these before you start to lower the tank. These other two hoses over here go to the DEF tank. You will not have to disconnect those hoses right here. They are attached to the tank on the other side, but they just pop right off. Alright, here you see the two tank straps, one right there and the other one right over here. That's all that holds the tank up. It's just one strap in the front, one strap in the rear, and one nut on each. Alright, after climbing under the truck, we've determined it's going to be way easier just to remove the drive shaft. That way it's completely out of the way, and we can sit up and actually look above the fuel tank. This drive shaft comes off a lot easier with power tools, so use them if you've got them. Now we move over to the filler neck hose clamps. The dually actually gives you quite a bit more space to get up in there and loosen these clamps. They're not too tough to get to, it just takes a little patience. The threads were a little too long on these tank straps, so I had to use one of these through ratchets because my deep well sockets weren't quite long enough. Now you just have to get one of these or a wrench and use it real quick just to get it started so your deep well socket can go on there. Now before you really start lowering the tank, make sure you go back and the hose clamps are off like you see there. Now you just poke your head up over the fuel tank, disconnect the fuel lines that are going to the fuel filter, and some of the electrical wires that you see here. Once you see that you get everything disconnected, go ahead and start lowering the fuel tank. That's it. The finish on these fuel tanks are great. Now I'm not going to show it on the video, but you swap the original sending unit from the original fuel tank over to this tank. It's very easy, just make sure it ends up in the same clock position as on the other tank. The worst part, or the most difficult, whatever you want to call it, is this front bracket. It's the new bracket because the tank is extra long, so here it is right here. We couldn't get that rubber to fit up around the corner, it just wouldn't go around the tank. I'd have to say it took us about as long to get this single bracket on as it did to do the rest of the whole job. Don't forget, if you have access to a lift, this job will be much easier. The only reason it took a little while longer is one, filming, and two, trying to do it on the ground, showing you that you can do it in your garage. Doing this on the floor in your garage with a helper, it's about a 3-hour job. Now we figured it'd be the perfect time to swap the fuel filters also, while we have the fuel tank out and the fuel lines are drained. This definitely isn't required, but we figured we'd do it since we're already making a bit of a mess. Now before you completely bolt everything and raise the whole tank all the way up, just make sure that you're getting no lines pinched and everything's plugged in properly. Now once you get everything torqued down and tightened up, just give everything a once over. Make sure you check the tank straps. All the electrical wires going to the sending unit are plugged in. Make sure the new bracket that you put on the front is nice and tight, everything's torqued down. And don't forget to check the filler neck hose clamps, make sure those are tightened up too. Alright, this is going from the stock fuel tank to a 52-gallon fuel tank. When towing my trailer here in Alaska, I can't really afford to pass up any fuel stations. This will definitely fix that. I'll be able to tow my trailer from Fairbanks down to Anchorage without stopping for fuel. Now we're heading down to fill up the truck for the first time since we put the new tank in. We'll check and see how the gauges are reading, make sure everything's reading properly. Here we are. I expect to put about 40 gallons into the tank. Now remember, you're not paying more for fuel, the fuel tank's just bigger, that's why it's going to hurt a little more to fill it up from empty. Now this is the only downside we've seen to the tank. Some pumps only let you fill up 35 gallons, like this one. Now that's not really an issue, but it's just kind of a hassle to have to pull your card out, swipe it again, and start pumping again. Now we're topping it off as much as we can. That way we can check the filler neck and see if there are any leaks. Everything's looking pretty good. And we'll check it again once we get home and get it in the garage, get everything dried up. As you can see, we're all topped off here, but it shows the range at 415 miles. So yes, the fuel gauge does read right, but the range is completely off. If you've been following our Ram videos, you know we have the fix for that. I'll put the link to that video just above here. Now here we're going to go into the Easy Link, and we're going to see if we can adjust the fuel tank size. Getting this Easy Link is one of the best things we've done for the truck. It increased the fuel mileage we get and added a lot of horsepower. All right, so here let's click on Vehicle, then Functions, and third from the bottom, Set Fuel Tank Capacity. Then click Run in the top right corner, and let's look at our choices. Stock 32, 42, and we have the max 52. That's it. The fuel tank size has changed. Let's go see if it changed the fuel range that we're going to get. Wow, over 700 miles of range. That's really going to help when towing. Of course, I'm not going to get 700 miles of range when towing, but hopefully we'll get around 350, 400. With the combination of the low horsepower tune, the 30 horsepower tune, we're averaging around 18 miles per gallon. Combined with an over 50-gallon tank now, that really pushes our range up there. I feel that's how this truck should have come from the factory, with at least a larger tank option. I was told the 2019s did not have a bigger option for a fuel tank, but I've heard they've started putting larger fuel tanks in now, or at least leaving an option for it. Now that we just completed our first 50-mile trip, we're gonna pull it back in the garage and go underneath, check, make sure there's no leaks, and make sure everything's still tight. Like always, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out.